Hey podheads, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Starbuck, aka Prince of Dorkness, and today we're going to take a look at my top 10 most anticipated Marvel omnibuses of 2022. So stick around, let's talk comics. Welcome back to the channel, podheads, pod squad, pod empire. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're new to the channel, make sure that you give me a big thumbs up, subscribe below, and ring that bell for notifications so you know when I have new videos coming out. All of these things really help the channel grow. I thank you so much for doing it. Also, comment below so that I don't feel like I'm talking to myself out here. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, we're going to talk about my top 10 most wanted Marvel Omnis this year. I feel like to do this, though, I have to give a little bit of background on myself. I've been collecting Omnis for approximately 6 years now. My first book was the Infinity Gauntlet Omnibus, and I was hooked. I just started buying them left and right from there. However, I work a regular day job and I'm not a rich guy, so sometimes I can only afford a book a month, sometimes more. My collection that you can see behind me and you'll see in different shots and whatnot, those are collected over many years. So with that being said, please keep in mind that a lot of the books on this list, some of them are reprints because I missed them the first time around, so I'm super excited to see them come back into print. Well, I think that's about everything. Let's get right in to our top 10 Marvel Omnis of 2022. First book comes out in 4 days. So this is going to be book number 10. Comes out on April 5th. That's going to be the War of the Realms Omnibus by Hallam and Aaron. I only read a little bit of the Thor title during kind of like the road to the War of the Realms, and I enjoyed it. I mean, that little bit I read was fun, but it's an awfully large crossover, and I didn't read very much of it. So I'm super stoked to get this book finally after missing out last time it came into print. I think I blinked. Maybe I looked a little bit to the left for a second, and then it was gone. Proof that you guys are out there collecting these books with me. Thank you so much. But yeah, you're making it harder for me to get my books. Thanks a lot, guys. Number 9 is going to be the Doctor Strange by Aaron and Bocciolo Omnibus. This book also comes out next week on April 5th. I'm stoked about this because when I first started collecting comics in the late 90s, there was a little title on Cliffhanger made by Joe Kelly and Chris Bocciolo called Steampunk, and that book is to this day one of my favorite comics I've ever read. It's got a fantastic story, a lot of heart, and just the artwork is some of my favorite ever. And Chris Bocciolo has always been, since then, has been one of my favorite comic book artists to follow. So yeah, I kind of slept on that one, but I'm really happy that it's coming out now, so I have the opportunity to read it in omnibus oversized format. So that's pretty awesome. Number 8 is going to be the Avengers vs. X-Men Omnibus. This book comes out on July 27th and is on my list because I didn't read the original. I know a lot of people complained about it while it was still in the regular run, and I don't know, I'm really looking forward to like 10 years later reading it for the first time in oversized omnibus format, so yippee for me. Number 7. For number 7, I have the What If Into the Multiverse Omnibus Volume 1. This is the What If series from the 1980s and early 1990s. I don't remember this series having a subtitle, Into the Multiverse, but perhaps I'm wrong. I am super stoked about this because although I have the What If Volume 1 and 2 Omnibus, these are the What If comics that I remember from my childhood. These were the books that my friend Tony on the corner and I would trade to find out what crazy thing was happening in that book. So I'm really excited to have some of that nostalgia and see this book again, really for the first time in 30 years. So super stoked about that. Number 6. Number 6 on my list is by John Byrne and Mike Carlin. This book comes out on May 18th, so just a little over a month and a half. Super stoked about this. I know that when I was young, I had some old back issues of The Thing. I'm pretty sure they were John Byrne books. As an adult, I love John Byrne's artwork. I love it when he draws The Thing and really the whole Fantastic Four. I'm super stoked to read these pretty much as a new reader. Again, it's a new book for me. I'm super stoked. Can't wait to pick that up on May 18th. And that's going to bring us to book number 5. I am so stoked about this book, guys. I've been begging and clamoring to anyone that would listen for the last 5 years. We've got 5 volumes of Amazing Spider-Man. We've got Ultimate volumes. We've got Ben Reilly, Clone Sagas. We've got everything, but we had none until now. Spectacular Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1 comes out on September 28th, and I will tell you that I will buy every single one of these that they produce. Every volume that they make, I will be first in line, because this was the book that I cut my teeth on when I was a kid. This is the Spider-Man that I remember. The Peter Parker Spectacular Spider-Man was my absolute favorite, and I cannot wait to see these books in oversized format so I can really take in the art and enjoy them as an adult, because it's been an awfully long time since I've seen most of these. And that'll bring us to number 4. Number 4 today should have, by any other year, ranked much higher on my list of most anticipated books this year. But there are so many good Omnis coming out this year that it ends up not even in my top 3. And that, of course, is Wolverine Omnibus Volume 3. We're getting into the good parts of the Larry Hama story. We're getting into Wolverine Volume 2. I think we're about 30 issues in this one. I'm super stoked about this book. I love reading this stuff. It has a lot of the graphic novels that came out at the same time. The Run of Terra and a couple of others. But this is like my favorite era of Wolverine, and I cannot wait to get my hands on Volume 3 this year on November 15th. So right before Turkey Day, you know what I'm going to be doing this year. And after a last-minute costume change while sparing no expense, it's time for book number 3. Book number 3 on the list is Spider-Man 2099 Omnibus. This book comes out on October 26th, and let me just tell you guys, I am super stoked about this book. This book was just the coolest thing ever when it came out, and I was, I think I was 10. But I have the entire series in floppies still. I'm super stoked about this one. Cannot wait for Spider-Man 2099. I know that there are a lot of you out there that are either going to be reading this for the first time or are my age and are also excited for this one. So thank goodness. I hope we get all the rest of the books collected as well. I'd like to see that Doom 2099, which was awesome. It would be really fantastic to see more of the 2099 universe as well. Number 2 on the list is a book that beats out everything else below it only because I have been waiting for this to be collected for so long. And that, of course, is the book that ends with No More Mutants. House of M Omnibus comes out on November 22nd this year, guys. Again, right before Thanksgiving, maybe? I don't know this year. But I am stoked, man. I'm going to be reading that Wolverine Omnibus Volume 3. I'm going to be reading the House of M Omnibus. I really, I looked at the contents of the House of M Omnibus, and it has everything that's necessary for the story. But I feel like I'd like to see another collection, maybe that directly follows, because there was another series right after House of M. There were a couple of like sister series, and one of them had a number for the title, and it was the amount of mutants left on the planet after Wanda went crazy. This book, if you haven't read it, just be prepared. It's so awesome. One of my favorite stories of all time. Super stoked to have House of M collected. And that brings us, guys, to my number 1 book of the year. This may surprise a lot of you, but this is something I have never read. I don't think I've ever had any opportunity to read it. It may have been collected in other collected formats over the years, but I've not seen any of them. And that is the Knights of Pendragon Omnibus. This book comes out in April. End of April is what the release that I saw was, but it was so long ago that chances are things have changed. But I'm super stoked about this. I know a lot of my friends that have spent time overseas. Like, this was a big deal over in the UK. So I'm excited just to read it. I love like historical comics. I like everything from like sword and sorcery stuff to, you know, medieval knights. I think this sounds cool. And it seems like there's more to it, to the story. So I just, you know, I dig the era. I dig the style. I can't wait to see what I've been missing. And that's my top 10 most anticipated Marvel Omnibuses of 2022. Thanks so much for sticking around, guys. I really appreciate all of you. Make sure that you hit the like button, subscribe below, and ring that bell for notifications. Your phone will let you know when I post new videos. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And remember, when all else fails, take a nap. Have a good one, guys.